"We don't take these kinds of cards here," Emily Hart yelled, with a tone laced with judgment and disrespect. Every head in Lincrest and Company, the city's trendiest boutique, turned toward David as he stood at the counter, silent and patient despite Emily's words. Clean jeans, faded sneakers, a simple navy jacket. He didn't look rich, and that was the exact reason for Emily's judgment. What started as a simple purchase, a birthday gift for his mother, was about to expose a truth money couldn't hide. That respect should never depend on what someone wears, holds, or spends. Because in a few minutes, the woman who mocked him would realize who she had just humiliated, and learn the hard way that appearances can cost more than any price tag. If you believe dignity should never depend on what someone wears or owns, tap, like, and subscribe, because in the next few minutes, you'll see how one quiet act of humility will flip arrogance on its head, and remind everyone that true worth can't be swiped or scanned. Inside Lincrest and Company, the city's trendiest luxury boutique, everything gleamed. White marble floors, golden light fixtures, and perfumes so expensive they didn't even have price tags. The kind of place where silence wasn't empty, it was judgment wearing heels. And into that silence walked David Grant. His clothes were simple. Clean jeans, faded sneakers, a plain navy jacket zipped halfway. No designer logo, no expensive watch. He looked like any man stopping by after a long day, except for the calm in his eyes, the quiet confidence that didn't match the way others looked at him. He headed straight for the counter, holding a small box, a silk scarf, carefully folded. It wasn't for him. It was for his mother. Her birthday was tomorrow. The cashier, Emily Hart, barely glanced up when he approached. Her smile was plastic, the kind that came with retail training, not kindness. "Can I help you?" she said, though her tone made it sound like, "Should I?" David nodded. "Just this, please." Emily took the box like it might stain her hands. "Gift or personal?" "Gift." She typed into the register, glancing at him from the corner of her eye. Her manicured fingers moved quickly, but her expression said more than her words ever could. When the total flashed on the screen, she turned the monitor toward him. "That'll be $312. David reached for his wallet, a little worn, leather soft from years of use, and slid his black card across the counter. That's when it happened. The smile fell. Her eyes flicked from the card to his face, then back again, disbelief curling into something sharper. "I'm sorry," she said, voice stiff. We don't take these kinds of cards here." David blinked. "Excuse me?" She slid it back toward him with 2 fingers, like she was handling something fake. "Company policy. We only accept verified cards, sir." "Verified?" His tone was calm, polite. "That card's verified. It's a Grant Platinum." Emily crossed her arms. "I've worked here 3 years. I know what our payment system accepts. That's not one of them." A woman nearby, older, holding a shopping bag, looked up, sensing something off. David kept his composure. "Could you try running it?" Emily hesitated, her voice lowering but not her attitude. "Sir, we've had issues before, okay? Some people try to use unofficial cards to—" She stopped herself, but the damage was done. The word hung in the air like smoke. David's eyes didn't waver. "Some people?" Emily shifted, defensive now. "I didn't mean anything by it, but look, if you don't have another form of payment—" "I have plenty of ways to pay," David said quietly. "I just thought you'd treat every customer the same." Her cheeks flushed, but her pride held firm. Sir, please don't make a scene. He almost laughed, not from humor, but disbelief. I'm not making a scene. I'm making a purchase. The tension in the air thickened. The older woman in line whispered to another shopper. Someone near the perfume counter turned to watch. Emily forced a smile, lowering her voice as if that made it polite. Maybe try one of the other stores down the block. They might be a better fit. David's brows knit together, but his voice stayed steady. A better fit. Yes, she said, folding her arms again. Our clientele usually look like you? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. He leaned in slightly, his voice so low it was almost gentle. You don't know who I am. You don't know what I can afford. But you've already decided what I'm worth. Before she could answer, another voice broke the tension. Is there a problem here? The store manager, Marcus Reed, approached. Well-dressed, forced grin, the kind of man who'd rather lose his soul than a sale. Emily exhaled like she'd been rescued. This gentleman's card isn't scanning, sir. Marcus glanced at David, then at the card. His smile twitched. Ah, I see. Sir, maybe if you try another. David interrupted, calm but firm. The card works. You just haven't tried it yet. Marcus hesitated. The eyes of half the store were on them now. All right, he said finally, motioning for the card. Let's just clear this up. He slid it through the terminal. The machine beeped once, then again, then flashed red. Emily smirked. That tiny, satisfied smirk people wear when they think they've been proven right. But before she could speak, the screen lit up again, flashing a message none of them expected. Grant Platinum Executive Card. VIP verification required. The system froze. A new chime echoed, louder, different, almost like a security tone. And then, a new line appeared across the screen. Account linked, Grant Financial Group, corporate tier. Marcus's smile vanished. Emily's hand trembled. David just watched, expression calm, as if he'd seen this 1,000 times before. The hum of whispers grew around them. He looked at Emily. Polite, steady. Still think I should try another store? For a moment, no one spoke. The beeping register filled the silence like a heartbeat. Then, slowly, the words on the screen began to sink in. Grant Financial Group, corporate tier. Emily's lips parted, but nothing came out. She looked at Marcus for help, her face pale. The manager tried to mask his confusion with a chuckle that sounded too thin, too forced. Well, he said, clearing his throat. Must be some kind of system error. Happens sometimes. David tilted his head slightly. A system error that recognizes my company? Marcus opened his mouth, then shut it again. Sir, if you'll just give me a moment, I can... Call corporate? David finished for him. Please, do. The older woman who'd been watching from the side stepped forward a little, curiosity lighting her eyes. I think you should listen to him, she said softly, her voice kind but firm. Marcus ignored her. Emily, he snapped, check the ID verification. Emily's fingers trembled as she clicked through the register. Every sound, every tap of the keyboard echoed through the store like a drumbeat. If you're still watching, you can feel that sting of judgment and the table about to turn. Hit like and subscribe if you believe respect shouldn't come with a price tag. Because what happens next will make every sneer in this room disappear. Customers whispered from across the room. A teenage boy nudged his mother. "Mom, that guy's name is on the screen." His mother frowned. "Honey, hush." The store had fallen into that strange, electric silence, the kind that sits right before the truth explodes. Finally, the terminal beeped again. The screen flashed, approved. Then came another line neither of them expected. "Priority client. Access notification sent to corporate liaison." Marcus froze. "Corporate liaison?" David smiled faintly. "That means your regional manager's about to get a text." He wasn't wrong. In less than 30 seconds, Marcus's phone buzzed on his hip. He fumbled for it, glancing at the screen. One message. From corporate. Subject, Grant Financial, VIP alert at Lincrest & Company. Immediate acknowledgement required. The color drained from his face. Emily leaned in, whispering frantically. "What's happening?" Marcus didn't answer. He just stared at David like he was seeing him for the first time. "I'd still like to buy the scarf," David said evenly, "unless there's another issue." Marcus's voice cracked slightly. "No, sir, of course not. My apologies for the misunderstanding." David nodded slowly, his composure unbroken. "A misunderstanding would mean you didn't know better." "But I think you did." The line hit harder than any shout could have. Emily's mouth fell open. Marcus looked like he'd just swallowed a stone. David took his card back, sliding it into his wallet. "It's easy to smile at people you think can help you," he said quietly. "The real test is how you treat the ones you think can't." The older woman who'd been watching gave a single, slow nod. "Amen to that," she murmured. David turned toward her, his expression softening. "Thank you, ma'am." "You handled that better than most would have," she said. "I've had practice," he replied. Emily tried to salvage what was left of her pride. "Sir, please, if you'd like, we can wrap this up with complimentary." David raised a hand gently. "No need." He turned to leave, but before he could take a step, the front doors opened. A woman in a dark business suit strode in, moving fast, her ID badge swinging. "Mr. Grant," she said immediately, her tone respectful. Marcus's stomach dropped. "Mr. Grant?" The entire store turned to look. "Yes," David said, his voice calm, measured. "And you are?" "Cynthia Palmer, Regional Operations Director," she said quickly, offering a hand. "We received your access ping. I came personally to ensure everything here is handled properly." Her eyes flicked to Marcus, then Emily. "Is there a problem?" Marcus stammered. "No, ma'am, just a minor mix-up." Cynthia's expression hardened. "A mix-up with a preferred partner's executive card?" Emily's knees nearly gave out. "Partner?" she whispered. David adjusted his jacket. "That's one word for it." Cynthia's tone was sharp, professional. "Mr. Grant's firm oversees a large portion of our financial operations, including franchise leasing. He doesn't just shop here. He technically owns part of it. You could have heard a pin drop." Emily's eyes went wide. Marcus's throat bobbed as he struggled to speak. "Sir, we had no idea." "That's the point," David said softly. Cynthia turned to him, her tone immediately deferential. "Mr. Grant, would you like to continue your visit privately?" David shook his head. "No need." "I got what I came for." He held up the small box with the scarf inside. "Sometimes the lesson's the real purchase." Cynthia gave a slow, understanding nod. He turned back to Marcus and Emily one last time. "Next time someone hands you a card, look at the person, not the plastic." Then, without another word, He walked out, calm, unhurried, leaving behind a silence thick with guilt and realization. The doors slid shut behind him, but the sound of his words stayed long after he was gone. The automatic doors slid shut, but the silence he left behind didn't. For nearly a minute, no one moved. No one spoke. The only sound in Lincrest and Company was the faint hum of soft jazz from the ceiling speakers, cheerful, mocking, out of place. Marcus finally exhaled. It came out shaky, uneven. God, he muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. That was David Grant? Cynthia Palmer, the regional director, turned on him like a blade. You didn't recognize him? He didn't look like... Like what? Her voice cut through him. Marcus's mouth went dry. Like one of our investors. Cynthia's stare didn't blink. You mean he didn't look rich enough for you? Emily was still standing behind the counter, pale, frozen in place. Her manicured hands trembled on the edge of the register. I didn't mean to... Cynthia wheeled toward her. Didn't mean to what? Humiliate an executive partner in front of half the store? Deny his card because of how he looked? Emily's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. That's exactly the problem, Cynthia snapped. You didn't care enough to find out? Around them, customers pretended to browse, but no one was really shopping anymore. Everyone was watching. Marcus tried to regain control. Ma'am, please, maybe we can smooth this over. I can call Mr. Grant personally. You won't call him, Cynthia interrupted. You won't email him. You won't breathe in his direction. Marcus blinked. Excuse me? Corporate will be calling you, she said. And trust me, it won't be a friendly conversation. She gestured toward the security cameras overhead. I'll need a full copy of the footage from the last hour. Every second. Marcus hesitated. That's really necessary? Cynthia's glare could have cracked glass. Do you think I'm asking? He didn't respond. She turned to Emily. And you, go home, effective immediately. Emily's eyes widened. You're firing me? Cynthia crossed her arms. You just tried to eject the man whose name is literally tied to the company's funding account. You're lucky you're not getting escorted out in handcuffs. Emily's lip trembled. Please, I didn't mean... Intent doesn't erase impact, Cynthia said coldly. Clock out, now! Emily grabbed her purse with shaking hands, her head down. As she hurried toward the exit, the older woman who'd spoken up earlier stepped forward again. Ma'am, she said softly to Cynthia, if you don't mind me saying, that man handled himself with more grace than anyone I've ever seen. Cynthia nodded. That's who he is. The older woman smiled sadly. Then maybe your staff could use a bit of that grace too. Cynthia sighed. That's exactly what's about to happen. Meanwhile, outside, David Grant was walking down the city sidewalk, the small gift bag swinging gently in his hand. The sun had dipped low, turning the storefronts gold. He passed strangers without a glance, his mind calm but sharp. He wasn't angry, not anymore. He'd seen this too many times before. The quick assumptions, the invisible hierarchies, the way kindness vanished when someone didn't look the part. But what struck him most wasn't Emily's arrogance. It was her certainty, the way she'd spoken as though she knew who he was, what he could afford, where he belonged. He stopped at the curb, watching the city traffic crawl by. A few pedestrians glanced his way. Just another man with a shopping bag, nothing special. He smiled faintly. That's fine, he murmured. I don't need to look like I belong. I am where I belong. His phone buzzed. A message from Cynthia. Cynthia Palmer, Mr. Grant, I've addressed the situation immediately. Corporate is issuing staff retraining and internal review. Please advise how you'd like to proceed. David typed back one line. David Grant. Just make sure the lesson sticks. He slipped his phone back into his pocket and crossed the street. Inside the boutique, Marcus watched as Cynthia made a call to corporate headquarters. Her voice clipped, formal. Yes, she said into the phone. It's confirmed. Mr. Grant's card triggered the top-tier security flag. Executive access. She paused, listening. Then her eyes flicked toward Marcus. Yes, I'm looking right at the staff responsible. A pause. Then she said simply, Understood. When she hung up, she looked at him. You'll both be under review pending termination. Marcus's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Cynthia turned for the door. Mr. Grant shouldn't have to demand respect for you to give it. The way he handled this, that's what professionalism looks like. And with that, she left. The bell above the door chimed softly as it closed. Marcus stood in the empty store, staring at the register where it all started. The same screen still glowed faintly, looping the same words over and over. Transaction complete. VIP account verified. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the 38th floor of the Grant Financial Group headquarters, glass, steel, and calm authority. The hum of conversation filled the air as executives prepared for the weekly leadership briefing. At the head of the long mahogany table sat David Grant. No designer suit, no pretense, just his usual navy jacket and composed demeanor. To his right sat his assistant, flipping through updates on a tablet. Sir, she said softly, corporate from Lincrest called first thing this morning. Apparently there was an incident at one of their stores yesterday. David nodded slowly. I'm aware. They've sent over a full apology. The regional director, Cynthia Palmer, is requesting a meeting with you personally. Schedule it, David said. Already did. She's in the lobby. Moments later, Cynthia entered, posture straight, face professional but faintly apologetic. Mr. Grant, thank you for seeing me. David gestured toward the seat across from him. Please, sit. Cynthia placed a folder on the table. First, I want to formally apologize for what happened yesterday. We've reviewed the footage, interviewed staff, and initiated immediate retraining across all locations. Emily Hart has been dismissed. Marcus Reed is on suspension pending review. David listened, silent. His eyes didn't harden. They observed. Cynthia hesitated. Mr. Grant, you could have gone public. You could have had our entire brand under fire overnight. Instead, you walked out quietly. May I ask why? David leaned back slightly. Because I wasn't there to make a headline. I was there to buy a gift for my mother. Her expression softened. I didn't need to teach them who I was, he continued. I needed them to see who they were. And sometimes, that lesson lands harder in silence. Cynthia nodded, taking in every word. Understood. David reached for the folder, scanning the documents. This sensitivity training. Make sure it's not just for employees who got caught. Make it company-wide. Bias isn't just a mistake, it's a habit. You fix habits by changing culture, not just punishing people. I agree completely, she said quickly. It's already in motion. He closed the folder. Good. There was a pause. The room was quiet, but heavy with respect. Cynthia stood. Mr. Grant, for what it's worth, that young woman will never forget this. None of them will. You didn't humiliate her. You made her see herself. David gave a faint smile. That's the hope. Cynthia left the office quietly, the door shutting behind her with a soft click. For a moment, David sat in stillness, staring out through the glass wall that overlooked the city. The same streets, the same stores, the same world that had judged him before it even knew his name. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the receipt from the boutique, the one for the silk scarf. The ink had smudged slightly, but the message on it was clear. Transaction complete. VIP account verified. He chuckled under his breath. Funny how truth works. Always verifies itself. He folded the receipt neatly, tucked it into a drawer, and stood. "Angela," he called to his assistant, "cancel the afternoon meeting. I'm heading out." "Of course, sir." "Personal errand?" "Something like that," he said. Hours later, David stood outside his mother's apartment, holding the same gift bag. The air smelled like home. Rain on pavement, old roses by the window. When she opened the door, her smile filled the hallway. "Baby, you didn't have to get me anything." He hugged her gently. "It's not much, Mama. Just a little reminder." She held up the scarf, eyes bright. "It's beautiful." David smiled softly. "So are you." And as she pulled him into the kitchen for dinner, he glanced once at the sky beyond the window, calm, clear, and wide open. Because no matter how high the world builds its walls, dignity always finds its way through the cracks. A week later, the boutique was quieter than usual. The fluorescent lights hummed softly, and the faint scent of perfume lingered over empty aisles. Emily Hart sat behind the counter, nervously flipping through her phone. Her new job wasn't glamorous, a small local store that paid barely enough for rent. Each beep from the register felt like a reminder of how far she'd fallen. The door chimed, and she glanced up automatically, her breath caught. Standing there, dressed in the same plain jacket and calm expression, was David Grant. He didn't look angry. He didn't even look triumphant, just steady. For a moment, Emily couldn't move. Then she stumbled to her feet. "Mr. Grant, sir, I'm so sorry, I didn't—" He raised a hand gently. "You don't owe me an explanation." Her throat tightened. "I was stupid. I judged you. I ruined my life over my own arrogance." David studied her carefully, then nodded once. "Maybe. Or maybe this is the start of something better." She blinked, unsure if she heard right. "I've seen people destroy themselves by refusing to learn," he said softly. "You made a mistake. You faced the consequences. What you do now, that's what defines you." Emily swallowed hard. Why did you even come back here?" David glanced around the small store, the modest shelves, the quiet space. "To buy a few things for a community program I run. We donate supplies to job training centers. Thought I'd see what you had in stock." Her eyes filled. "You'd buy from me? After everything?" He smiled faintly. "Everyone deserves a second chance. You just have to decide what you'll do with it." For a long moment, the air between them was still, heavy, yet freeing. She nodded slowly, tears glimmering. "Thank you. I mean that." David picked up a small box from a nearby shelf, checked the price, and set it on the counter. "You'll be fine," he said quietly. "Just lead with respect next time. It costs nothing." She nodded again, unable to speak. He paid, took his receipt, and headed for the door. But before leaving, he paused, looking back just once. "Emily," he said, voice steady but kind. "The world's full of people waiting to be seen for who they are. Don't be the reason someone gives up before they get that chance." Then he left, just like he had that first day. Calm, unbothered, leaving behind a silence that spoke louder than anger ever could. Outside, the afternoon sun bathed the street in gold. David tucked the bag under his arm and started down the block, passing people lost in their own worlds, each with their own story. He didn't need to prove anything anymore. Respect had always been his currency, and now it had paid forward in a way that money never could. As he disappeared into the crowd, a faint smile tugged at his lips, not of pride, but of peace. Because in a world quick to judge by what it sees, sometimes the quietest victories are the ones that change hearts instead of headlines. If stories like this remind you that dignity has nothing to do with titles, uniforms, or class, hit like and subscribe, so you never miss the next story where quiet strength turns judgment into regret, and respect finds its way home.